Yes, sir.
Alrighty. And we are back. But the thing is, this is the start of the public domain Anatomy Crosscast and its first conversation with three of the members of Victims of the System. This is an Alabama thrash death metal band, from what I remember. And not only that, but officially, people, we have been in talks with this band back when I was baby faced and still working at Jack in the Box since August 15th of last year of 2025. So we've been in talks with this band as per I think maybe recommendation of hmm. Oh, you know what? Yeah, you guys just ended up following me. I'm like, you know what? If people are gonna follow the Instagram, we gotta get them on the show eventually.
Yeah. So
And yeah,
I think I hit you up because
yeah.
w- I found you because you had our old singer on an episode, and I was like, yeah, I should hit this dude up, just trying to get on more podcasts and shit. So that's what I thought. I'm pretty sure I hit you up.
Yeah. Well, in that case, who is your old singer then? Is it
So he's from Ohio, but
oh,
yeah. So we're not on good terms, but I'm not gonna come on here and bash him.
right.
Jason Jelzebub.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, he was our singer like when we were still an online band and back for a while in like 2020, 2021, and then he rejoined in like 2023 and like did some guitar work for us too. And yeah, I know him for a good while and saw he was on here, so thought I'd reach out.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, in that case, for sure, welcome to the show. It's always awesome to include brand new personalities, brand new faces onto the show. As in my opinion, like I said in the exclusive segment, which you guys can access on the Crosscore Patreon for either a one time purchase individually for the podcast or for $3 a month. That would also allow you access to everything else that's on there currently, and just continue to participate in that. And you could also get a thank you video, technically get more for less money, but just be there longer, please. That would be the incentive of that. But ultimately, it's cool to finally be interviewing a band from the United States state territory of Alabama. And not only that, but I think Victims of the System will be one of our very first thrash metal bands. We haven't really done thrash metal before. And not only that, but understanding and prefacing the session with all else that you do, including a video game. You have been in horror films and horror IPs. You've directed music videos. You guys are pretty well steeped in multiple creative mediums of the entertainment industry, which I think to be really, really fascinating. So I look forward to unfurling this conversation as we descend into the first part of the main event. But with the time, hopefully, that you took to check out the questionnaire, I want to go ahead and dive directly into the people part of the podcast. And Aaron, being that you kickstarted the order, and then do forgive me, rhythm guitarist name. What is your name?
Logan.
Logan. Okay. So Aaron, Logan, Seth. Aaron, Logan, Seth. Cool. Let's go ahead and go in that order then. Aaron, take us back in time to what started it all for you as far as you being a member of, well, as far as you getting involved in music in the first place. Obviously, there are a lot of things for you to tell us about. So take your time with it. Name your position for one in Victims of the System, and then we'll go from there.
Um, I'm Aaron Clark. Uh, I'm the lead singer, and I guess like also kind of second rhythm guitarist to Logan because I wouldn't really put any of us in the lead position.
Right.
But yeah, we're still navigating that because our lead guitarist just stepped down, and so we're still navigating what to do with that. But yeah, so I wanted to say this right fast. We claim death thrash, but it's like we're more closer to just death. We've done some thrash, so we kind of we don't like to put ourselves in one specific category, but we sound a lot closer to death metal than we do thrash. You know what I'm saying?
Fair
Like
enough.
we just have some thrash shit, and we have some black metal shit. Like we have a lot of different shit, but I feel like the most consistent sound we have is death metal. But
Okay.
going all the way back, man, we recently had a documentary come out about us with Lost in the Dark podcast, and
Really?
yes, and
Huh.
it just tells our whole story from the start. But I'll go. I said a lot about it in there, but I'll dive a little deeper into it on here because I feel like I have more time, I guess. But yeah. So growing up as a kid, dude, like I just really looked up to my uncle. His name's Bill. Like closest you can be to somebody, you know. And it's like I'm very blessed to have an uncle like that, you know, because a lot of people don't even really have relationships with their uncle like that. And it's like he, to me, it was like he was an older brother, and he played in a band called Them way before I was born. He was just he rode motorcycles, you know, fucking listen to metal music. Like every once in a while he'd start drinking, and once he started drinking, I knew he was about to start blasting metal. So I pulled up a kitchen chair and sit it next to his computer chair. And dude, he put me on to like really early age, like Twisted Sister, Pantera, Vinnie Vincent Invasion, Quiet Riot. Those are some of the bands I like really, really digged. And fucking, you know, like he'd barbecue, and every time he'd barbecue, he'd play the Essential Ozzy Osbourne album blasted out of his truck. And like, dude, it's like I just knew like from the start, it's like that's the type of life like I idolize him, you know. And it's like I don't want to be him. I want to, you know, be like that, you know. And it's like I'd be lucky to be half the man he is, you know. And he's just I could go on for hours and say all the good things in the world about my uncle, but he I don't know, he just really started all this for me, you know. He's the reason why I picked up a guitar. He he's the greatest. He's truthfully the greatest. And so I got into guitar because of him. I then what did I do next? I started a TikTok, or not TikTok, a BandLab band, right? It's called Victims of the System. That was the original version of Victims of the System. Um, we, I didn't know any musicians in my area. I just really started learning guitar, and we, yeah, I just didn't know anybody. So I found BandLab, and on there, there's like a community type thing, like a forum where you can find musicians to collaborate online, right? And that was my really only way of starting a band. That was in 2018, so I was probably like 12 or 13 at the time. And so yeah, I barely knew how to play guitar. Found all these dudes. It was like I named it Victims of the System, and completely different lineup than what we have today, completely different sound, because we were a Nirvana cover band. And
Whoa.
yeah, and so it's not because I'm like the biggest Nirvana fan in the world. I don't mind Nirvana, but I'm really not a Nirvana freak. I just couldn't play anything besides Nirvana.
I see.
Like, yeah, I could play like Smoke on the Water or whatever, but it's like no, I don't want to make that music, and Nirvana is like the closest that I can play to what I want to make. So I was like, fuck it. And so we did a cover of Smells Like Teen Spirit. The drummer quit because it was really bad. And then that's when my brother Caleb, who was on earlier, he entered the scene, entered the picture, and he was the drummer at the time. And like, man, if I didn't know how to play guitar, like he really didn't know how to play drums. And fucking we bought a desktop drum pad, like it's like $30 on Amazon. It's like that thin, and you just plug it up to a USB port, and it makes really shitty drum midis. And we did a cover of Lake of Fire by Nirvana, and then we kind of strayed from Nirvana and did Bohemian Rhapsody and Radioactive by Imagine Dragons. And I was like, man, I'm really not a fan of those two bands, so I don't know why we're covering them. But so we took a break so I could just get better at playing. Came back with some original shit. It was kind of like black and deathcore, like some really like kind of like gore grind a little bit closer to that, just because it sucked. But fucking like gore grind doesn't always suck, but you know, if you want to make metal and you don't know how to do it, fuck around with gore grind until you figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Like that,
True.
you'll be fine in gore grind. But so we started doing that, and then we kind of it was 2020 around this time, so the scene was really different because everything was like closed. There was no in-person anything happening. So that was really the time for an online band to find, you know, success to a certain extent. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And because that's what everybody was doing. And so there was like this online scene that I found, like this whole scene that was just exclusively online. And we put out this song, The Scent of Burning Flesh, featuring solo artist called Brain Mold. And that was like, we started gravitating more towards slam because that was really popular amongst the online scene. And that was, it's like, okay, this, I don't have to step up my guitar playing too crazy. It feels easy to navigate, and I do like some heavy shit. So let's kind of go with the slam sound for a minute. And we released Scent of Burning Flesh, and then we were contacted by a record label after that, after our first like official single. And they were a DIY label. It was nothing like, they didn't offer us like couple $100,000, nothing like that. They were just like, hey, we want to release your first album. But 14-year-old me, in my bedroom at my trailer park, fucking, I was like, dude, the record label wants to release our shit.
Yeah.
So I was like, fuck yeah. So we got this whole online lineup now, and we're like, okay, we're gonna drop this album through this record label. And they made the art first, and it ended up being called Fetal Dismemberment. And one of the slam projects that I was a really big fan of, they were called Backyard Cannibalism.
Okay.
And huge fan of them. And we had this one song, like all the shit, like, dude, I'm not even gonna lie, all the shit on that album sucked. But like, we had this one instrumental that I was just like, dude, this fucking rules. Like, this is actually good music. And I fucking hit up Backyard Cannibalism because like I couldn't do vocals with the shit at the time. I was like, yo, dude, I was like, how much do I have to pay you to get you on this track? And he heard it, dude. It's a minute long track, right? It's like 58 seconds exactly. And he was like, dude, send me $5. I was like, dude, I have $5. I'll fucking send you $5. And so he sent it over. He sent it back, dude. The first time I heard it, it was like the biggest rush of adrenaline that I created. That like, that was like, oh my god, like I made music that sounds like this. And that was the moment I was like, okay, I feel confident I can do this now, because I had never had up until that point. But I was like, this is awesome. And that song was called Anally Fucked with a Hammer. And so because when I was naming it, I was like, okay, what's gonna be our biggest song? Like, hammer smash face and fucking, shit like that. And I was like, fucked with a hammer. I was like, no, that's like fucked with a knife by Cannibal mixed with hammer smash face. And I was like, well, if you add anally, it's different and it sounds heavier. So I was like, all right, let's make it anal. So fucking we just changed the hole that was getting fucked, and that's how that song came to be. And like, dude, it like that song took off, dude. Like Suicide Silence mentioned us shortly after that.
Really?
And to the online scene, like that was a bunch of 14-year-olds, in their bedrooms making core noise and shit. And it's like, to them, for Suicide Silence to mention one of the bands, it's like, dude, we were Slayer now. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like, we were that in their eyes, they're like, holy shit, victims of the system, And it's like, not too long after that, like Gary Holt mentioned this. Chris Barnes, actually, from Cannibal Corpse, right after like he had said all the stuff about, oh no, no new death metal is good, blah 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 blah. He said all that shit. Me and him used to be friends, and he tweeted one of our albums like a week after he said that, and was like, if you're wondering what new metal is good, this is what I'm digging, and tweeted our fucking album. And it's like, dude, so like, in the online scene, we were like the biggest thing ever because of that shit. Because like, we were getting like real names talking about us. And then the world kind of came back, and the online scene kind of just died. And it's like, we had like, dude, we were like rock stars. And then it was like, okay, now we're nothing again. And we got to find a way to build that back up in this new terrain with an in-person band. So around that time, like, fast forward a little bit. I found out about the Alabama scene, and I messaged this big promoter that everybody was telling me to go to, named Blythe. He sings in a band called No Cure. straight edge.
Dude, yes.
Yeah, yeah. So he nicest dude to work with, super cool guy. And he was like, yeah, I'll put you on some shit. And it was our first real official show. So I was like, he's not gonna put us in nothing big, he's just gonna like a little test run or something. This motherfucker puts us on No Cure's homecoming show on their tour with selling Mugshot. And I was like,
Wow.
yeah, I was like, holy fucking shit. And,
Wow.
and so the original plan, dude, was okay. So the lineup right now is me, my brother Caleb, and this dude named Trevor. The plan right now is to buy a drum set, teach Caleb how to play drums. Before I have to learn how to play drums, then teach Caleb how to play drums so Caleb can play drums, then do the show. And I was like, I don't know if this is gonna work. We got 2 weeks. So then this dude that's sitting over here, Tristan, he fucking one day he just came to practice with us, and Tristan had been in the band, like he'd come in and out of the band throughout all the online lineup changes and shit, because like he was the only other musician I knew in the area. So like he'd come over jam, I'd be like, yo, join the band. He'd join the band, we'd get an argument, I'd be like, yo, fuck you, you're out of the band. Like, a week later he'd come back. But yeah, Tristan came over and jammed with us, and like he wasn't like Joey Jordison, but it's like he could keep time, and that's something Caleb couldn't do. And I was like, dude, fuck yes. And I was like, dude, will you do this fucking show with us? He was like, absolutely. So we did the show, and man, like, but if any like critic looked at that, they'd be like, the Victims of System is the worst band that's ever existed in the history of that. But for us, dude, that night we were fucking Black Sabbath. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
that was the biggest moment for us. There was like 250 people in the crowd that night. Like, dude, it was like everything I'd ever dreamed of. And then but the weird part, Caleb, he was my brother. I was like, I need my brother in my band. You know what I'm saying? I like some Dimebag Vinny shit. Like, I just need my brother on stage with me. I could give a fuck what instrument he's playing. I could give a fuck if he's playing an instrument. So Caleb, he wanted to be in the band too, but he had never really found his instrument yet. And we had a bassist. I was on guitar and vocals, and we had Tristan on drums. So I handed Caleb a second bass, and he had never touched a bass in his life. And I was like, if you get scared, turn it down. And I was like, you're good. I was like, just stand there and fucking do shit.
Right.
And that's how Caleb learned bass, though, because Caleb's still our bassist. And it's like, I just kept throwing him on stage, and eventually he started to find his comfort. And then he started practicing bass, and it's like now he knows what he's doing. But before, like, that was how Caleb got thrown into bass, and it's like that's how he found his instrument.
Hell yeah.
But went through many more lineup changes since that first show, and that led us to our current lineup today, which we just recently made another change to, as I mentioned. And yeah, now we got Seth Dyer on drums, we got me on guitar and vocals, we got Logan Davis on rhythm guitar, and we got Caleb Brownfield on bass. And
Fucking
that's where we're at now with Victims of the System. And there's been 1,000 different lineups. If any of the old members are watching and mad I didn't mention them, I don't even have time to mention everybody that's ever been in this band. So
yeah.
I don't even remember some of their names, dude. Like, it's been a lot of people, but like there's been a lot of changes, but I've never been so confident in a lineup until now. Like, this one stayed pretty much consistent throughout like the better half of 2 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's pretty much stayed the same group of people now. So it's like, you know, this is the lineup. This is the lineup.
Well, not only that, but I just want to briefly mention, like, shout out to your first show, Cell, being on that lineup, because we've hosted them. They were really cool to host, and we hosted them right before they dropped their Underneath the Surface EP, or like Heaven. Fuck, I forgot what the EP is called. They've released a new album since then. I have yet to listen to that or attempt to get them back on the show because I really want to get them on the show. And now Skylar of Cell is now in Varials. I'm like, fucking hey, dude. Like, I need to get caught up. But no, but like, what a killer first show, or what a killer opening. Like, No Cure, Cell, and then what was the other one you mentioned?
Mugshot. They were on.
Mugshot, dude.
Yeah, they're from California. They were
Yeah.
on the Garza podcast. There was also a local band on named Blood. I didn't mention them, but
Mm,
Blood was also on that bill. So
that's
shout out
sick.
to Blood as well.
Yeah. So then, with that out of the way, and briefly mentioning some artists we've hosted on, I just wanted to say, you walking through your roadmap of how at least Victims of the System started and your kind of perspective on it, you have done the best job throughout the entire show in telling me exactly what I need to hear and what I think the Crosscast or the Crosscore audience needs to hear as far as like how this all got started, intricate details about lineup changes, memories and nostalgia about you guys' first show. You know exactly what the fuck I want to hear, and not even in like a clickbaity way. You just know exactly what I need to hear. So this is a reminder to all future guests after this, which this could be episode 120, you know, that another sharp zero. That's what I want to hear. That's what I want my audience and me alike to be listening to. So then as we continue the commentary, that's just for victims of the system, really. And you getting it started, it's starting from an online project, becoming a real band eventually, especially when the pandemic concluded, which thank goodness. Because what a fucking scandal. What a scheme. But
Yeah. I want to
nonetheless,
say, dude, I'm
yes.
so good. I'm so good at, I was so good at telling you that because, dude, I've done a million interviews with myself in the shower. You know what I'm saying? Like, as a kid, just playing, like, okay, and like pretending I'm on fucking, Jimmy Fallon or some shit. And he's like,
Yeah,
oh, fucking, like, I've told that story a million times, like in fake interviews, just talking to myself, and each time more details added. So it's like I've told the updated version like 1,000 times too, and it's like I still do that to this day. I've done that since I was a kid, but I still do that to this day. And it's like,
absolutely.
yeah, it's like I'm always practicing for interviews, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah. It's almost like you know that you have something to talk about.
yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. So, continuing then upon a more personal questionnaire, I wanted to go ahead and quote to you because you quoted Victims of the System and you corrected the band as being death thrash. You're like, we're not exactly thrash metal. We got some black metal elements in there. Our first record, that you got distributed through a label was mostly slam. Weren't the biggest fan of that, but now you're integrating death metal into thrash, and then there are some black metal moments in there. As long as there's three different subgenres, I think there's a lot more to do with that than yeah, just we're a thrash metal band. It's like, well, it's 2026. What do you mean that you're a thrash metal band? So then, speaking for that, what are some of the this is a clickbaity one, this is a brain dead one. What are some of the bigger influences you think that go into the DNA of what Victims of the System is?
That's a good question.
If I may, real quick.
Yeah.
I gotta head down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, and you help answer this question now. Because okay. Yeah, you have a lot to do with the writing process. So it's like, for me at least, my biggest inspiration has always been Pantera. And it's like some people may look at that a certain way, and a lot of people on TikTok are like, "Oh, Pantera's a poser band now." Dude, I was on Pantera before it was cool. I was listening to Pantera when I was like 5. You know what I'm saying? And it's like that's what inspired me to make music. But we don't sound anything like Pantera. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I'm glad we don't, because it's like I love Pantera, but I want to be victims of the system. And with how much I love Pantera, it's like it's not. I don't really love Pantera that much. I love Dimebag that much. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just such a big fan of his playing. It's like if we weren't like original, we would just sound just like Pantera, Damage Plan, all his shit. And it's like I'm glad we're staying away from that and doing this, because it's like now we get to be ourselves rather than just slowly inevitably becoming Pantera.
Right.
And but for the sound wise, dude, like for me as a vocalist, Cannibal Corpse is really big for me. My vocals have been compared a lot to Chris Barnes and Corpse Grinder. I don't know if Chris Barnes is a compliment anymore, but fucking, I'll take it. I'll take it for sure. And but yeah, Cannibal Corpse is like my biggest inspiration vocally. I really for highs, I really took a lot of inspiration from this local band called Fallen, because their high, dude, Easton's highs are just like nuts to me. And but for Logan, on the other hand, as the guitarist, his answers are going to be different.
Right.
Yeah. I guess rock has always been in my life. Rock as a whole. Obviously, when you're a kid, it's not. I did hear growing up. I did hear my dad talk about who Dimebag Darrell was, but I didn't. I was like, oh, that's a cool name. Just to speak on what he was saying. It wasn't until I was about fucking 10 when I really started getting introduced to more Pantera. But at 9, though, what really shifted my shit my whole way of thinking as far as music goes, from like, being 5 and AC/DC and shit like that. When I was 9, I heard Tears Don't Fall for the first time.
Yeah.
Blew my fucking mind. And then at the same time, Disturbed, I think it just come out with one of their albums, and that also just blew my mind. So from there, I just kept going heavier and heavier. And at 12, Slipknot, and then also Avenged Sevenfold. And I would say my biggest inspiration on guitar would be maybe a combination of, I'm not as good as any of these people, not by any fucking means. I've been playing guitar since I was 5, so I'm 26. You know what I mean? I've been playing guitar for that long. I'm not where I need to be, but tone and the way that I'm playing, I guess, comes from a mixture of Bullet for My Valentine, Avenged Sevenfold, and even Slipknot. Maybe that's not as prominent, but all their hammer-ons, pull-offs so fast, and all the fucking tremolo they're doing is just really, crafted the way that I'm playing. And then when I was a teenager, smoking pot and shit, I really got into Sublime. So, I mean, I'm also doing just a lot of power chord shit when I can. Like, or not power chord, but full chord, just to try to incorporate that zing at the end. I don't know, it's a weird mixture, but
It's a strange mixture, but nonetheless, I have yet to listen to any of the tracks by this band. So this, I think, provides me so much context as per the intentions of you guys' writing, and therefore, let alone the stuff that's already been released tonight. I cannot wait to hear like the new shit that you guys want to so far and until further notice disclose here exclusively and have ready to release later on when the new single is out. So yeah, it's awesome to hear. And Logan, I do apologize because it seems that both you and Seth ended up bouncing out before we could get to y'all, but
Seth will be back though.
Seth will
yeah,
be back.
yeah.
I'm in the middle of moving.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
So I just a long process. And I will add to what you were just saying. Everything that's out right now that you can look up on Spotify, YouTube, Victims of the System, go peep it. I didn't record or help write any of the songs that are currently out,
Okay.
but I am on the new album that's yet to be released, Embodiment of
Ooh.
Pain.
Okay.
I'm actually on the title track. Aaron asked me to write that song, and I was fucking honored actually, because I haven't been in the band that long, and he asked me to write the fucking title track.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So maybe you'll hear some of my inspirations in that guitar work.
I'm sure I will. Yeah, absolutely. And not only that, but I look forward to before we get this session out, if not the next session, because maybe that'll be like come back next time for Logan's story or some shit.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that depending on how this goes and how people receive it, I want to bring everyone in and we can do like some really, really cool stuff for this new album you guys have yet to unleash. But I definitely don't want to keep you longer than you're able to be here. But I do appreciate your commentary thus far, Mr. Logan.
I do want to say, man,
Yes, sir.
Logan, he's a very creative person and he doesn't limit himself and he's in multiple music projects at a time.
Oh shit.
So really, like if you had Logan on a whole episode by himself, you'd get like you'd hear about Victims of the System, but dude, there's like countless shit y'all could talk about. Like he's in another band called Arkany, which there's like a rock, like it's rock, like
it's like a heavy groove metal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mostly stable. You're getting that
mostly stable. Fuck yeah.
Mostly stable. Am I missing any?
No, I'm actually.
You do solo shit too, though.
I do have a solo project that I'm working on. That's gonna come out. That's a pretty great mixture. Actually tonight, a female vocalist was supposed to shoot. I think she's recording her tracks for one of my songs tonight. So
okay,
look for that. And then I didn't even tell you this. I'm auditioning to be a fucking front man for another band.
Hell yeah,
that's cool.
I think
staying busy.
Shortly.
Maybe I did. What's that?
Staying busy.
Trying to is processes.
But man, if you got Logan on a solo episode by himself, dude, it's like you could get so much out of him that like just talking about victims of the system, it's like that's not enough for Logan Davis, though. You know what I'm saying? Like he's got a lot more to talk about too, apart from this. So it's like I'd highly recommend y'all two getting together and doing
Yes.
something
I
another
appreciate
time.
that. Yeah, I would
Yeah,
love to do that.
yeah,
And
dude.
you know, one last thing I'd like to add: Tyler Johnson, lead guitarist who recently had to step down. You know, fucking love the guy. That's our best friend. That motherfucker's also been a huge inspiration as far as guitar goes for me too. I
Okay.
mean, yeah, he's phenomenal, dude. Absolutely phenomenal. And you know, I liked death metal here and there growing up, but I wasn't as into it as I am now until I was asked to join Victims, and then I understood really. You know what I mean? Playing on stage for the first time, I understood it like I never did before. And Tyler really helped pave the way for me to learn and grow as a guitarist. So shout out Tyler.
Hell yeah. Shout out to Tyler. Alrighty, sir. Well, if you need to head out, you're free to go, sir.
Yes,
Thank
sir,
you
bro.
for the conversation so far, and I look forward to all the potential future crosscast sessions we might be doing with the one and only Logan Davis.
Hey,
Yes,
thank
sir.
you. Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome, sir.
Have a good night, my friend.
Oh,
We have about 8 minutes left. So what I'm thinking we can do for the extension and the concluding parts of tonight, other than of course when Seth returns, is let's go ahead and kind of dig into your background as far as how the other creative medium started, because that's a full fucking package. And you only were like, oh yeah, I did this and this. I'm like, well, what the fuck? We got to talk about that during the main thing a little bit. So
yeah. So you said the creative what?
just the creative mediums, like you getting involved in the video game shit, or directing music videos, being in horror films, that type of stuff. Just like when obviously, you ingest and you consume a lot of different media. I think we all do as creative minds. So, of course, we're raised on watching films and playing video games. But for example, when did it start for you that you wanted to make your own video game based off of like rock and roll and metal history from scratch?
So, um, I did have like the video game, since that was what you just mentioned, the video game, that wasn't entirely my doing. Like, I'm not the greatest at coding or anything like that. Like, dude, I know the bare minimum of coding. Like, I made a cool MySpace account, but like fucking that's just copy paste shit. And like, but I don't know much about coding. But there's this dude on Instagram that I met. Like, I don't know him super well, but he was just posting videos of him like fucking around making games. And I hit him up and I was like, yo, I was like, you want to make some bullshit for my band? He was like, I'll make some good shit for your band. And I was like, oh, yeah, cool. And yeah, he made the 8-bit game. And fucking it was really just like meeting the right people. And it's like I've always been interested in a lot of it. I really never thought I'd have a video game for victims of the system. Like that was never really one that crossed my mind, but like it's super cool that that exists. But like movie, like I said earlier, movies and shit, like I always wanted to be a part of that. I always wanted to be. That's why, like, dude, when I was younger, I just love, like, I love making music. I love music, but I really love making content and just being a creative,
Yes.
right? And I used to make a lot of YouTube videos. Like I used to exclusively do YouTube videos, and I had one viral video on my old YouTube channel as like a 12-year-old, and like did shocking numbers, man. And it's like that, like it's not like it was like I think it's at 176,000 or something right now. And it's like on YouTube, that's a lot of numbers. You know what I'm saying? Like I know people that pull that on TikTok like in a day, and it's like they're just
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, not a big deal. But like on in like 20 fucking 17 on YouTube with a long form video, that's a lot of fucking views. You know what I'm saying? And like especially for someone that had like 100 fucking subscribers at the time. But yeah, I just love that with victims, if anybody, anybody watching this that knows victims of the system, we're just as known for our music as we are our vlogs. And like with each tour we do a vlog surrounding it. We do vlog behind the scenes music video content. We do vlogs for one-off shows. We do all, like, we're constantly pushing out content because like we're just very creative, and we like for our personalities to be seen as much as our playing ability. And we're very colorful personalities, right? And we we think we're entertaining, and a lot
Right.
of people agree that we're entertaining. So like we push it out. And um but with movies and shit, it's like I see that, as one and the same as making like a YouTube video or something. It's like you are put on a screen entertaining people, and it's like I just I always wanted to do that as a kid. I never wanted that to be my full-time thing. I never wanted to be like, oh, Aaron Clark, that guy from that movie. I wanted it to be like, oh, did you know that Aaron Clark from that band was also in this movie? If that makes sense. Like, yeah, like I always wanted, like, James Hetfield was a cop in that one movie. It's like I kind of always wanted it to be like that. It's like, holy shit, is that fucking James Hetfield in this movie? Like that type of shit.
Yeah.
And that I never knew how to navigate like acting and shit. Like, music, it's like you can do on yourself by yourself. Acting, dude, that shit's hard. Like that's like getting into acting is hard. And it's fucking yeah, this dude named Heath Clark that directed Don't Look Behind You, he knew Logan many moons ago, and he posted an open casting call, and dude, it was like 45 minutes away from a house that same night. And I was like, dude, fuck yeah. I was like, yes, I'm doing that. And so me and Logan pulled up, and we did this movie, and super rad, dude. It was a great experience. And then that movie is how I met um Jordan Pope, was one of the main stars from the movie. And I followed all these production companies that made other movies he was in, and that's how I found Oettinger Productions. And then they posted this thing about needing extra hands on set for a great all-American slasher film, and I was like, hey, I could be of some assistance. And then they were like, hey, we're looking for crime scene techs. That's how I landed the second role. And the cartoon that I mentioned too, that it was once again just knowing the right people. It's like I grew up with this dude named Charlie. He runs a YouTube channel. He likes to do animations, and he's a really big fan of Victims of System, like probably our biggest fan. And he just wanted to help out with that. It's kind of my idea, but I was like, I kind of want to let you take a lot of the reins with this. And we have a song coming out called Lethal Injection that I wrote like some years back, and that's why the title is Lethal Injection. The theme song's Lethal Injection, and it's very Tenacious D type shit. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know. I just love being creative, man. I love anything. I loved any kind of content, any type of like entertainment I like to consume. I like to also create. And like you mentioned lo-fi earlier, like I fuck around, I make some lo-fi beats. I never really promote it, but I have the pseudonym Lil Cosmic as my lo-fi producer name. And I put out just a couple things. I don't really promote it. I just do that for fun. I don't really want that to take off. I kind of want that to just stay my simple thing I can have fun with. And then I've made rap music in the past. I've went under a couple different names with that, but I never really promote that either. But yeah, I just anything I like hearing or watching, I like to also make. And it's like I like playing video games, so we got a video game. I like watching movies, so we're in a movie. I like cartoons, we got a cartoon. I like metal music, we make metal music. I like
Yeah.
vlogs, we make vlogs. I just as much as I can push out my creativity, as much as I can push out my personality, I'm gonna.
And as per the words of Dane Evans, a good friend of mine, singer for Australian deathcore band To the Grave, create more than you consume. That's always been like one of my biggest philosophies as the years have passed by. And well, let's just say with everything that I've already done, people, that's not even close to scratching the surface of what I want to do, that I just need the right financial backbone for and enough time to devote to it, especially if I don't want to immediately pay people, if I'm not making money off said creative medium, to then feed back into staff and people that can help me make the creative medium easier to do. It's a whole complicated process. It's really the fact of getting those wheels on the vehicle, that way you can start driving the vehicle, and sometimes it takes a lot longer. And we have returned for the second bit for the main session. Most likely because of time as well, whether in between the segments so far, or otherwise. And because I'm going to need to wake up early tomorrow morning, this might for now be the last part, but I'm thinking that we'll just record more bits and pieces going into the near future as we crawl closer and closer to the marketing and the eventual roadmap for Victims of the System and their new 2026 record. But we return to the people part of the questionnaire briefly and then prepare to branch into the band questions with Aaron Clark, founding member, vocalist, and guitarist. So, because I personally have not traveled to the state of Alabama before, and because this will be our first time talking with a band located in Alabama, I mean, after all, compared to Europe, where state territories here in the US are the same distance and same size as different countries over in Europe, mostly this is meant to be a set of questions catering to Alabama as a state territory, but maybe perhaps we end up enticing the interest to people from all around the world who want to eventually visit Alabama, visit Arizona, who knows. So this is in regards to location. First question in the location bracket would be, what is something that you think the Crosscast audience should know about Alabama that they might not already?
Dude, we're not all inbred. It's the first thing. Like, I really fucking hate that. It's like, I don't know how many times, man, like growing up, like going on Omegle, and like there would be somebody like, "Oh, where you from?" And I'm like, "Oh, Alabama." And they're like, "Sweet home." And I'm like, "Dude, all right, come on, bro." But fight, no, it's irritating. But um, it's a beautiful state, man. It's a beautiful state. Um, I'm proud to be from Alabama. I'm not a hillbilly by any means, but I definitely grew up around some, and it's a lot more than what people think it is. People think Alabama's like a slab of fucking mud with a couple trailers sitting, across the way, and like combined six teeth in all of its residents. But it's like, dude, Huntsville, Birmingham, big, beautiful fucking cities. You know what I'm saying? Like beautiful, huge cities. And then you get to somewhere like Scottsboro, where we're from, and it's like right in the middle. It's not like a nowhere, but it's not like a huge city. We don't really have skyscrapers, but like it's got stuff. And it's a beautiful state, man. It's a beautiful state. There's a lot to see here. Um, fucking it's a lot more than you think it is, man. When people, like it's kind of like Hawaii. Like, you imagine Hawaii, if you've never been there or really looked into it,
Right.
you imagine like tiki torches and fucking, the grass skirts and bongo drums and fires and shit, So you imagine, then you like go to Hawaii and it's just a fucking city, you know what I'm saying? It's just state, it's just like anywhere else, and it's just got beaches, and it's like
Yeah.
it's almost like culture shock, It's like you come to Alabama and you're like, this is Alabama, like you expected fucking, Ford trucks, Confederate flags, and fucking double barrel shotguns. And it's like, but no, you got like, dude, I remember like Scottsboro is a very like, this is an Alabama ass town. Like, right? Like, this is an Alabama town. And dude, we had like a Renaissance fair down the road, like,
Oh, hell yeah.
yeah, dude, it's like there's a lot of shit going on in Alabama, dude. Like I've been to like fucking art expos and shit, fucking like Comic Cons here, like like dude, there's all sorts of shit, and it's like there's definitely, if you look for hillbilly shit, you'll find some hillbilly shit, man. You will, but it's like it's not all just fucking bullshit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Right.
It's like in uh the metal scene in Alabama, dude, it's like you don't expect one, you don't expect like Bible Belt fucking hillbilly, you don't expect a thriving metal scene, you know what I'm saying? But there is one, and it's like we don't really claim, like there's the biggest scene really is Huntsville hardcore scene, right? We don't really claim that because we're not from Huntsville and we don't make hardcore music. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of hard to call us a Huntsville hardcore band when none of those words apply to us besides band. And it's like we played with those bands, we played in that scene, but it's like that's not really us. But even regardless, that's it's thriving, man. And there's so, dude, I couldn't even give you an estimate of how many bands are just from North Alabama, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like just in North Alabama, there's more bands than I could count. So many of them are insanely talented, just to name a few. Just give some props out, you know what I'm saying? Fog Crawler, fucking awesome, right? Fog Crawler's some awesome slam shit. I was the vocalist of Fog Crawler for a while. The drummer was our drummer. Fog Crawler rules. Seracia, I'm filling in on vocals for the next couple of shows. Subjected to Infinity, No Cure, fucking Blood, Fallen, dude, the list, Dismal Dream, like Gimmicks, so many bomb ass, like really talented bands. And then you get to like Birmingham, which is like mid Alabama, infinite more. You know what I'm saying? Then you get to Mobile, which is South Alabama, infinite more. And it's like just so many like talented artists. And it's like some bomb ass metal music be made out of, the Hick State, Alabama. You know what I'm saying? Like fucking I see more metal musicians here than I see like country artists, and it's like it's really cool, man. It's got a thriving metal scene. It's got a lot of beautiful scenery, very versatile in what Alabama has to offer you. And it's like it just stays pretty hot down here. Like it never really snows, like, so if you're into that, Alabama's a good place to visit. But fucking yeah, it's cool, man. The Alabama government, maybe I'm not so much of a fan of, but fucking, that applies to anywhere pretty much. So
Yeah.
the scenery, the people rules down here, dude.
Hell yeah. So obviously we love to hear about the music scene in a brand new state that we haven't interviewed a band with from. And technically now we've interviewed a band from every true South state territory in the United States, that being Eastern, like Southeastern Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, not South Carolina yet, but North Carolina. We've interviewed two bands from there, a couple from Tennessee, one from Oklahoma, and then I think Arkansas is like one of the final pieces of the true South American puzzle that we have yet to fill in. But the thing is, when it came to Alabama, and when I was in Murfreesboro, Tennessee for a year, which I love that you lived in a town called Scottsboro. Very, very similar suffix, a lot of vills and boroughs out there.
Murfreesboro
Um,
rules.
yeah, Murfreesboro is fucking awesome, man. That's where Abated Massive Flesh came from. That's technically where Divisive came from as well. And then, of course, me truly underestimating the legacy that Orthodox had already established before I met them. Not that they're from Murfreesboro, they're pretty straight from Nashville, Music City, baby. But
Yeah.
loved them, loved going to their album release show for Learning to Dissolve and being a part of a lot of different experiences that ended up getting recreated, filmed, and distributed by their record label, Century Media. That was an important night. And the venue that I saw them at almost shut down recently, but Nashville came together. They really stepped it up. And within like 48 hours, I think they got rent covered for that venue for the next couple months, like not even just 1 month, a couple months. But I've definitely fallen in love with the South. I've fallen in love with its various music scenes, and of course, Alabama is another state territory that we hope to host a lot of different bands from, starting with Victims of the System. So keeping that in mind, then, what would you say, going back in time, are some of the biggest legacy metal bands that you know about? Because you seem to be pretty knowledgeable about the up and coming talent in Alabama. And you seem to be pretty well versed in means of networking, similar to me. We feel a need to know what's going on. That way, we're not so oblivious when certain bands come through town that might have mutual interest to us. So, who would you quote in your experience and your research, having lived there most, if not all, of your life? some legacy bands based in Alabama or that came from Alabama.
Absolutely. Um, I always got to give props first to them, the band them. Like I mentioned earlier, my uncle played in them, even without the bias there. Um, Badass fucking band, badass musicians. Fucking half of them have passed away now, unfortunately. So we'll never get a or them reunion. Fucking him, but yeah, fucking yeah, them dude, they ruled, man. They ruled. They did some kick ass shit. Uh, fucking badass dudes, bro. Like they fucking my uncle sounds like Kirk from fucking Crowbar on vocals. So like that's dope sound already, you know, like fucking dude, they ruled, man. They ruled. And it's like they fucking played a gig at a high school they didn't go to and like cursed up a storm on stage. And it's like, dude, that's some punk rock shit, man. And it's like, you know, they were like the only band around here in like the 80s and shit, you know what I'm saying? And it's like they fucking ruled, bro. They ruled. And they got to give their flowers because they don't get them enough, dude. Them ruled. And if there was no them, there'd be no victims of the system. So there's that. Cancer Slug, I'm pretty sure they're from somewhere around here, like if not nearby. Like Cancer, I'm 90% sure they're from like Birmingham. Um, like they're not really my flow of things, but like I mean they did it, you know, they made a name for themselves being from Alabama. That's huge. Um Kamikaze Zombie definitely needs to get their fucking props, dude. Kamikaze Zombie. When the scene, like, dude, they were like the first band in this scene, like in the current state of the Alabama scene. Two bands that have remained true through all of it is Kamikaze Zombie and the Casket Kids. Those two bands have been here since like 2015, and it's like, dude, that's like a decade. You know what I'm saying? And it's like that's like, dude, Kamikaze Zombies played with the Black Dahlia Murder with Trevor. The Kamikaze Zombies played with Cannibal Corpse, played with Obituary, played with fucking they're like tight with X Hoarder and Phil Anselmo, and it's like, dude, they really like they paved the way for most Alabama bands. Like if it wasn't for Kamikaze Zombie, a lot of us wouldn't be able to do what we do to the extent that we do it. And the Casket Kids, they're more on the punk side of things, but it's very two separate things: the Alabama punk scene and the Alabama metal scene. But the Casket Kids, like they really paved the way for that. They really paved the way for the fucking uh punk scene in Alabama. And it's like they definitely deserve their flowers too. I'm not the biggest punk guy in the world. I really like the Misfits, Discharge, fucking, you know, I get into some punk, but it's like it's not my main thing, but that's their main thing, and that's cool. And it's like, and they really made a difference in Alabama when it comes to making punk. So they deserve a lot of appreciation for that. And to still be consistently playing, even dude, they're like in their 50s, 40s and shit. And it's like they're still out there doing it. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, shout out to the Casket Kids. And these two are kind of still up and coming, I guess, but they kind of made it, like No Cure and Gideon. Those are like newer ones, but they're still like, maybe they're not legacy status yet. There's without a doubt that they will be. You know what I'm saying? Like No Cure and Gideon, they're the two bands from Alabama that it's like,
Gideon, I'm pretty sure, is from Georgia.
well, dude, they come over here a lot then
Oh,
because
okay.
everybody talks about them like they're from here, man. Let me check that because I might be bullshitting you, but everybody talks about Gideon like they're from here though. Like people are like, yeah, I'm from Alabama, Gideon. And let me fucking see that, dude. Hold on, because
Okay. The suffix, the end of their username is AL. So yeah,
yeah,
I think they
yeah,
are from
yeah,
Alabama.
because dude, everybody here claims them, man. So I figured, but they're not my thing with the whole like country side of it. That's not my thing, but I respect Gideon, and it's like I mean, dude, you know, like those two bands, No Cure and Gideon. It's like, you know, I don't want to be them, but there's been since their inception, there's like 1,000 No Cures and Gideons in Alabama. I don't see that as a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? Because that's 1,000 new bands. You know, and it's like like fuck yeah, you know, it's 1,000 shows I can go to. And it's like
Yeah.
there's like the inspiration, the impact they've had on the Alabama MC is undeniable. And the fact that they've taken it as far as they've taken it, No Cure's played out of country. You know what I'm saying? Dude, it's like
You can't really, yeah, you can't really beat that. You can't
yeah,
really ignore that.
yeah. And I see like, you know, I'm not gonna throw shade at anybody really, but I've seen in the scene some like passive like animosity towards like No Cure for their success. And it's like that's the wrong way to look at it, man. You know what I'm saying? Because if No Cure grows, the Alabama metal scene grows. And
Seriously.
that grows, we grow, man. So it's like, you know, some people are like, oh yeah, they get all these opportunities. It's like, well, I mean, they got them. Why aren't you? You know what I'm saying? Go get those opportunities too. Go make that happen because that's what they did. And it's like they've grown so much in just such a little amount of time. It's like you should be looking at it, it's like, oh, that's possible. I should go
Yeah,
do it now. And it's like,
exactly.
you know, and it's like that's what we're doing. It's like we don't want to sound like No Cure. We don't want to sound like Gideon. We don't want to be the next No Cure and Gideon. We want to be the first victims of the system. And it's like, you know, they just show you like, yeah, you can be from Alabama and be successful as a metal musician.
No, it's a wonderful thing too, I think. When I went to go see Orthodox and they played their album release show, that night it was Chamber, it was No Cure, Orthodox, and a couple other Tennessee locals. And I remember being thoroughly impressed by everyone who played that night. No Cure was really fun. Chamber was really fun, as I was already introduced to Orthodox, having interviewed Adam Easterling by that time. But I remember them being the first band that I wanted to interview from the state territory of Alabama. I'm like, oh, you guys aren't from Nashville? They're like, no, dude, we're from fucking Little Rock. I'm like, oh, well, not Little Rock, because that'd be Arkansas. Um, but I remember they're like, yeah, no, we're from Alabama. I'm like, oh shit. Okay, that's cool. So it's kind of like you guys take this metallic hardcore culture, you put a little bit more like raw barbed wire hardcore in there, and you're from a completely different state. Cool. Hopefully we can get you guys on in the future. And thus far that hasn't happened. Maybe that'll happen after this one. Who knows? But what's important to me is that yes, absolutely every state territory in every country around the world, if it doesn't have a scene, be the one who starts the scene. Don't be jealous when someone beats you in starting the scene. Follow in their footsteps or check out what they did. Not musically, not musically, but maybe marketing wise or something. Get to know these people. Ask them the question, how is it possible? As if it's some like fucking anime one liner. And
Yeah.
then make it happen yourself and be a part of the scene, be a part of that history. And like you said, which I love the fact that you said that you're the first person that's had that much like sense, self-conscious sense of identity, being the first victims of the system. God, I fucking love to hear that. No other band really, no other personality on the show that we've hosted so far has like had that much intent on making their stuff that successful and that prolific for their part of the scene, their part of the country, whatever. It's that's oh, I fucking love to hear it. So, in reference to that, good sir, maybe in reference to this new 2026 record that you guys have coming out, that hopefully we'll be able to do a massive part two on. What would you say are some of the biggest bands and like biggest records, most important records to the DNA of this new album that you personally have been listening to?
Dude, that's a good question. There's a lot of different sounds on this new album. So there's a lot of different like sides of the spectrum bands I'm about to name here. Because the title track, Embodiment of Pain, dude, the guitar sounds so like down, the band Down, you know, with Phil Kirk, all them, like it sounds like Down, and then with death metal vocals, and then song Negligent Stillbirth sounds like some fucking second wave black metal shit, and then like the Resurrection sounds like some death metal shit, then Lethal Injection some thrash shit, then fucking like dude, it's all over the place. It's all over the place, and
We got some covers on it too, like an Annihilator cover. So there's some more thrash. Cannibal Corpse cover. You ever watched The Lost Boys?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, on the extended version of the album, there's a cover of Cry Little Sister. So fucking all over the place, dude. You know what I'm saying? But to answer your question, the albums that really helped uh like push like the all these sounds together is man, really like fucking Death Symbolic for me. Fucking really like dude, Death like man, like I don't know how to explain what Death does to me as a musician. Like, dude, it's just
I
like,
have yet to indulge.
dude, Death is crazy. Like, it's one of those bands, man. I hate listening to them because I'm like, man, it discourages me almost. I'm like, I don't know how it's possible to be this good. Like, I was just talking about stuff about how they show you it's possible. This when I listen to Death, I'm like, dude, I'm fucked. Like, dude, this is crazy. But like, dude, yeah, Death Symbolic for me, man, and the Sound of Perseverance, like that one too. I can't answer for anybody else in the band, but I can totally still give you my answers though. But fucking yeah, Death. Like I said, Pantera is a huge inspiration for me. Reinventing the Steel has a lot to do with like that. I guess the attitude of the album. Um, fucking dude, I've really been digging some Lamb of God. Really been digging some Lamb of God, some Whitechapel, fucking shit like that. Man, see, I'm not the biggest album guy. I'm more of like a two songs off an album and carry on like that. That's me. Because dude, if I got into albums, dude, I like so much music already as it is. If I listen to full albums, like dude, I my playlist would be fucked. But yeah, there's like some Whitechapel shit, some fucking like Annihilator, Lich King, Overkill, fucking uh Power Trip, some thrashy shit, some old school real thrashy shit. You know what I'm saying? Testament, dude, fucking Testament, bro. I fucking love Testament. Uh Exodus and shit too. Uh that's all the thrash side of it. Then Cannibal Corpse, Death, Whitechapel. Really dig Shadow of Intent. Fucking really that helped a lot with that. That's the death side of things. Black metal's where it gets tricky for me though. Because dude, I don't like Mayhem. All right, I'm just gonna come out straightforward and say I don't really like Mayhem. Um, Burzum is kind of cool if you can forget that he's like a Nazi, and it's kind of hard to forget that he's like a Nazi. But Burzum's kind of cool. But Darkthrone rules. Darkthrone fucking rules. But like black metal, I get into weird black metal shit like Eldamar and Nocturnal Depression and fucking I got into one band recently. I haven't listened to them enough to remember their name right now though. But it's like the song I heard of them. It's like 10,000 tears flow through the ocean or some shit. Like it's some like crazy name like that. But yeah, like Eldamar, they're really cool. Spirit of the North is a really cool track. I really like atmospheric black metal. You know what I'm saying? And Eldamar's fucking rules for that. Kekta Rock, fucking, I might be butchering the pronunciation on that, but Kekta Rock rules. Love me some black metal shit like that. But yeah, dude, it's really all over the place, man. Because it's like I've never understood the bands that are just like, oh, we're slamming brutal death metal, and then that's all we'll ever do. I can't get that, dude. I love so much metal. It's like I hear something, I'm like, dude, I want to make something that sounds like that, and then the creativity just flows and it doesn't stop. And it's like we say death metal because it's easy to just say death metal, but it's like, dude, we're all over the place. Like we're every type of metal in one band.
Except without the chorus.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like, we're the original collection of metal subgenres.
Yeah.
But ultimately too, I don't know. I've always been curious because I seem to be one of the only people I know, even amongst like metal reactive content creators, right? I don't really like saying that because that just sounds so fucking brain dead. reactions as a medium, as a YouTuber, are kind of obsolete now, unless you happen to be hardcore Keem, metal burb, Bogdan hardcore, and even they're starting to fall off. I can see it happening. Nick Nocturnal is definitely getting away from reactive content, but I like that. I really do, because as clickbait of a medium as reactions are, if you can shake it up and make it your own and put a little bit more identity and soul into it, I think it's okay, because you're essentially providing a more organic review and your opinion, your perspective on something, and that ends up eventually making you a tastemaker, which then allows for you to become a valid perspective in critiquing and like putting in a top 10 bracket albums of the year and all that shit that the other what am I saying? The other, I do it too. I've done it a couple times. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is, like, ultimately, it's such a brain dead medium of content, but I do really enjoy listening to an entire album and seeing if I appreciate it, see if I can actually digest it. Because if these bands are investing upwards of, let's just say, $10,000 just into studio shit for a 14 track album, let alone they compact their numbers as just a two-person project, one person just does vocals, really, and social media marketing, and the other does all of the instrumentals, all of the mixing and mastering, audio engineering. It's like that can still be pretty expensive. So it's like, why the fuck did they decide to invest all that money into 14 tracks of this label, this name of this project? And I think that's always what's been fascinating to me as the years go by too. Albums like Starfire by Darko US being 19 tracks, I'm like, holy shit. But then you actually listen to it, and then, like you said, it can't just be one subgenre. It can't. You need to be able to mix it up and balance it out every now and then. Have intro and outro tracks that aren't just samples from horror movies. Like, develop narratives, develop stories, and then have interlude tracks throughout the album that allow for a break, but also allow for more experimentation as to just instrumentals, like more soundtrack friendly stuff. I've always been more gravitant towards that, and that's why Silent Planet is one of my favorite bands of all time. They always have an intro, outro, and two interludes, and then they have, more recently, a more EDM infused approach to modern metalcore with plenty of philosophy and deeper thought infused into the songs themselves. And that's not even before they do collaborations and do features. But I agree with you. I think that's the point I was trying to make. I agree with you that when it comes to an entire album worth of music, there has to be variety. There has to be something compelling about each and every track. Otherwise, I don't think it's worth releasing as an album. You can have a album that is one genre, and some people like that, but that's going to be an isolated demographic. It really is.
Absolutely. And like,
So,
it, I keep talking about Pantera, and it's like Pantera's, like my band in my head, like not, I'm not in it, but it's like that's the band for me. And
right.
it's like, even them, dude, it's like, Reinventing the Steel is my favorite album of all time, but it's like every song kind of sounds like Reinventing the Steel, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? And it's like The Great Southern Trendkill. It's like every song kind of sounds like The Great Southern Trendkill. And it's like, it's very easily distinguishable which album a song from Pantera is off of, because they stick to one kind of distinct sound. And Pantera is a very versatile band. They've had a lot of different sounds, but it just kind of sticks all in one place. And it's like, that's my one complaint about Pantera, honestly. And it's like, I don't know. It's just like, they all have so much range. You know what I'm saying? Like, each member of that band has done 1,000 different things with 1,000 different genres. Pantera was a glam band. Phil's done Down. Phil did a like Black and Death band called Scour. Phil and Selma and the Legals. Dimebag and Vinny did Damage Plan. Vinny did Hell Yeah. They did a band called Gasoline for a little while. Rex has done all these things, and it's like they all have so much versatility, I don't feel like it was shown enough in Pantera. You know what I'm saying? And it's like there's a lot of bands I could say the same thing about. That's the one I'm just picking at because it's like that's the one band for me that I always compare everything to.
Right.
And it's like there's a lot of bands like that. There's a lot of bands that I feel like it's like this all just kind of sound like, you know, after a minute there, it's like, you know, okay, I kind of get it, you know, and it's like,
Yeah.
I feel like you need to throw some spice in some shit to make it, you know, long lasting because it keeps people on the edge of their seat, man. It's like you, at the risk of some people not liking certain songs, that's a risk, you know, I'm willing to take at least. It's like
Right.
appealing to different demographics with each song we put out, you know, and it's like that's how you build a big fan base, you know.
It is.
Yeah.
So with that in mind too, you know, speaking of possibly a palate cleanser, we have now a little bit longer than 8 minutes. I wanted to go ahead and check out that new song that you were open to premiering on here, and then basically in reference to when this next single is planning to drop, like that's when this session will be coming out. But here on Zoom, I think the best way for us to do this would be to go ahead and have you email it to me. So
yeah, I have it as an unlisted video on YouTube.
Oh,
Yeah, so I can email you the link to
Yes.
the unlisted video.
yes. And in that case, we will be right back. Recording. All right, we're back, and with quote the resignation or the resurrection final by victims of the system. The resignation final. Like, yeah, you really fucking quitting that job, aren't you? All right. Whoa.
Yes, come with me. You're the last, you know. Everyone else is gone. After you, my job is done. Pity. There used to be a nice balance between life and death, but you destroyed it. You even destroyed the earth you lived on. You made the water undrinkable, the air unbreathable, the soil unproductive. You even blocked out the sun. You knowingly, deliberately, ploddingly committed mass suicide. Why? I wonder. Oh well, what does it matter? Come. It's time. Come with me.
We the victims, man. We the victims. That victim shit is way overblown. Just sit there and shut up.
Watch
Damn, dude.
Fucking A. Made me get out of my seat at the very least. I felt compelled by the powers that be. All right, that was fun. That was actually really, really well done. All right, 2 days later, 5:28 p.m. for me on the 15th of January. A lot of stuff happened today. Lamb of God announced their next album. The Last 10 Seconds of Life just announced their next album and dropped the title track, which I still need to check that out. Plenty of work for me to do after this. But ultimately, we left off when I was kickstarting commentary for Victims of the System and their next track for their 2026 record, Embodiments of Sin. And I remember at the very least that I misspoke the name of the new song.
Embodiment of Pain.
Embodiment of Pain.
Yes, not sin.
Oh, wait, you know what? Embodiment of Sin was the fucking Belva Booth EP that I helped do press for like 3 years ago. So I think that's where that came from.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're all good.
But yeah, they have a new single coming out soon. And this single is the Resurrection. Yeah, the Resurrection.
Sir.
No official date, and most likely the date of this single is exactly when this Crosscast session, and it's Crosscast exclusive with extensions and DLC, maybe like an hour DLC worth of narrative and commentary will drop. So that should be fun. But I wanted to essentially conclude our commentary for now for Victims of the System by talking a little bit about the Resurrection, in which whether it was the intro sample of this gentleman just walking up to the camera talking about things that have already occurred and enticing the viewer, enticing the entity, the sentience of POV to follow him into the unknown as dystopia has already occurred. Something bad has already happened, and we're already in the midst of feeling the repercussions of something, right? Well, not only was that a really unnerving sample, but then digging into the actual song, I found myself thinking, yeah, they might like Cannibal Corpse, and Aaron Clark might have a lot of Cannibal Corpse and Corpse Grinder in his creative DNA for the band, but I would much rather listen to Victims of the System instead of Cannibal Corpse. And I mean, this is also coming from someone who hasn't really dug into their discography that much. So I need to, for sure. I need to do my homework. But I basically told myself, yeah, this is like new generation Cannibal Corpse, because it's not super produced. It's like polished, there's no rust on it. There's nothing that could give you tetanus if you slice yourself on it, which is a weird way of depicting it. But this is a metal band we're talking about. Ultimately, though, I think Victims of the System is going to be the next Cannibal Corpse. And I say that very confidently. They are very raw death metal, but they're not just death or thrash. They are, like we said before, one of those combinations of sounds and subgenres of heavier metal that turn it into the quote original variety of metal subgenre type bands. And I truly do believe that going into the near future, Victims of the System with this new record, hopefully kickstarting with this new record, if the reception hasn't already been substantial, which it was during the pandemic, and now we're bringing everything into a live setting and continuing to shoot that forward into the future. I want to see a lot more people recognize and acknowledge this band the same way that I have. And it's interesting that you guys ended up reaching out first, because I really do also believe that Victims of the System could be one of the most important bands that this show ever connects with, simply for that next generation Cannibal Corpse label. So, in other words, I really enjoyed the song. It was nice to hear someone with a harsher, thrash death metal vocal spectrum that was pretty well articulated as well. It's the reason I gravitate more towards vocalists like Tyler Beam, Aaron Clark, or even other vocalists. I'm trying to think of some right now. David Gunn of King 810, that could be another example. There are plenty, but despite my newfound appreciation for slam and its very, very thick accent upon English that almost makes it unintelligible, but that's also part of the culture. I think vocalists like Aaron Clark are going to be carrying death metal into the near future, and I look forward to it. So welcome back with that in mind. And yeah, good song. I like song.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Man, I really do appreciate all that. You know, I don't want to say anything and sound like egotistical or like non-humble, but I agree with everything you said. Is what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm saying? It's like I don't want to be like, yo, no, I already know where the shit is. But I mean, I don't know. Like fucking, but yeah, man, I like. There's not much I wouldn't put on the line to say, like, to bet that this album is what changes shit for us. Like each album, the way I worded this in the documentary, every year we look at it as we're in a competition with ourselves from last year, right? And not a year has gone by where we lost that competition. So each year we just knock shit to a new level. And we're in January, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, this is already like, dude, it's looking crazy. And we have some promotional plans for the album that I won't really get into, but we're guaranteeing that this single gets more attention than anything else we've done so far. And it's like we got a plan, we got a game plan here. It's a lot more than just put out a song and hope people listen. Like there's a lot of method behind what we're doing with this album. And yeah, it's like people are going to hear it one way or another. If they don't want to, we're going to put it in their faces. And like, yeah, but I do appreciate everything you said. That really means the world to me.
Yeah,
especially the Cannibal Corpse remarks. Grew up like Cannibal Corpse. I never wanted to be a vocalist. I wanted to be a guitarist. And it's like, Cannibal Corpse is why I believed I could do vocals, and fucking that really does mean the world to me.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, I mean, not only that, but the thing is, when I was watching that music video, when I was listening to that song, a couple things went through my mind that haven't gone through my mind in a long time. I recalled and remarked within myself your experience in having been involved in not just music, but other more cinematic, more visual creative mediums. And I said, I said to myself, this is a music video that was made with the intention in mind of being one of the next bigger bands in metal. There was a lot of thought that was put into it. There was a lot of subtleties. So it's not like super complicated. That's a word some people could use, who maybe seek a more casual experience with new music from a newer incarnation of bands such as Cannibal Corpse, Napalm Death, and plenty of others. Maybe even Behemoth with the more abysmal blackened tone that I could kind of hear in there. But obviously y'all aren't wearing corpse paint. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The most black metal thing probably about this next release would be the album title, like Embodiment of Pain. You know, fucking I could see that being the title of a release or song that was recorded in a moldy, wet, cold, but dark basement with bare bones technology. And that's also what I appreciated. But the thing is, the results and the final product, what was actually born as the newest entry into your discography, ended up being just polished enough where I'm like, okay, yeah, this is definitely not black metal. But visually, the corpse paint wasn't there either. So I'm like, okay, yeah, this is definitely not trying to be so blatantly black metal, but it is trying to possibly poke and tribute to a similar creative output person by person as people before, such as Rob Zombie. And I'm like, I remember we had that conversation. I'm like, we need more Rob Zombies in the world. We need more people who are capable and have the creative intuition as well as resume to be able to direct films, direct and produce animated things, as well as make heavy music. And mind you, Victims of the System, definitely with that song, that's one song that I've heard now, does not exactly give me the impression of drunk hillbilly rant music compressed into rock, because that is most of the Rob Zombie discography. This is something a little bit more raw. This is something a little bit more real. I just have yet to find the source of the substance and really get familiar or have confirmed the context of where the substance comes from. And I look forward to doing that. But honestly, for a band that I'm just now getting to know that might not be as big as most of the franchise artists and bands that I've had on the show, like maybe y'all aren't on the same tier as them, but yet at the very end of all of that, there's only yet, meaning I can totally see you guys becoming a big shot in the future or a bigger band than you already are and really making a name for yourself. So I wanted to go ahead and ask you, after having listened, mind you, to one song, how much creative thought and how many layers are we meant to be observing with the Resurrection as an opening song, I do believe, for this upcoming 2026 album? And if it's not the first track, what place, where in the timeline, whether chronologically or creatively, where does this fit in this next album?
That's a really good question. That's a thought-provoking question. Man, with the layers to it, it's like the song itself, I don't feel like anybody besides us will ever see every single layer to every single, what's the word? Catch every reference. Fucking you're frozen. I don't know if I'm frozen for
You're
you,
frozen for me.
You're frozen as fuck. Hold up.
As per the continued complications of the show, it's almost like it's too good to be broadcasted. I'm totally kidding, by the way. That was probably the most egotistical thing I've ever said, but it always seems to happen to us. So, oh, and are you just, oh, shit. Okay. We'll be back, guys. 1 second.
Yeah.
All right. We're back.
Right.
That was weird.
But yeah, so the song itself, though, I'm not sure if anybody outside of the band will ever catch every single layer to it. Like catch every reference, understand every, like there's a lot to it. Like with the album, where it falls on it, the album isn't necessarily a story you follow from start to finish. Like our last project we released, Timeless Descent into Decay, it's a 4-track EP, and it's kind of that of a concept album, and it's like it tells a story throughout the songs. And this one's not so much that. This one's kind of like it's all over the place. There's different genres of songs, all that, but the Resurrection, where it falls into it, it's like I feel like that song is the song that solidifies the album, if that makes sense. Like without the Resurrection, the album, this is like, I forget how many it is right now. I think it's like a 14-track album, 13, something like that. And it's like without this one song, the album doesn't work. Like this song is like the concrete that holds the house that is Embodiment of Pain up. And it's like that song, that's why it's a single. It's like that's why it's getting the big music video, like that's why we put so much into the Resurrection. And it's it changes the game of the album. Like it that song, like all the other songs I'm very proud of. All the other songs are sick. The Resurrection is like, this is who we are. You have to see it. It's like, for anybody that's never heard of Victims of the System, The Resurrection is like, this is who, like, this is how you get to meet us, is this song. And like, if you're unsure of what we are, The Resurrection is. And it's like, we are the resurrection.
Right.
And that's like, it's, I don't know how to explain it. You know, it's in my head, but I don't know how to make it come out as words. But yeah, it's like, it's the song. It's the song. You know, it's the song. And like, I don't know, man. It's just really, really significant to our story, and it's not even out yet, you know?
Right. Well, one thing I do want to ask then is, because you are the first one who has confirmed that there are so many layers to this that maybe the people only within the inner circle of the band lineup would understand. Well, let's go ahead and get familiar with some of the things, some of the references being alluded to, or some of the IPs, if you will, being discussed and referenced in the song. I want to start though with the sampler. Like, that intro was really fucking unnerving, and I remember like looking into distantly, you know, at a distance, this dude seemingly had hollow eyes, and you only really saw his eyes as he was getting closer to the camera. Probably a blur. I think there was a blur. So that could have been the reason why. But ultimately, it almost looked like a snuff tape, man. Like a really, really weird snuff tape. So where did you guys get that from?
Okay, so interestingly enough, that is a PSA from the 70s about pollution. And
whoa.
Yeah, he's meant to be the Grim Reaper in that. That's what he's meant to be. And you're the last person on earth, and he's coming to take you, and he's like, this is it. He's like, my job is done now. You're the last one. And the song, how it correlates to that, there's multiple meanings. So some of it's kind of taking, not, I wouldn't say putting anybody down, but in a sense throwing shade, I guess, at not any particular bands or anything, but repetitiveness, like the lack of creativity in certain areas, you know what I'm saying? And essentially calling the bands and promoters and anybody contributing to metal and music getting less creative, calling them pollution. And he's speaking to them as that they are the pollution that has ended the world that is metal, like the like alluding to the sample. And how that also, another example of why I'm saying that, in Alabama, there's a really big trend in our scene for everybody in every band to do 1 or 2 music videos through their whole career, and it just be a one-shot white background, nothing else, and that's it. And it's like, that's cool. It's cool the first 15 times, but after that, it's like, music videos are meant to tell the story behind the song, and it's like, it's meant to be where you can really let your creativity flow. The white background one-shot thing, that's cool, it's dope as fuck, but if that's the, I haven't seen any other bands in our scene do a music video with a story. And it's like, where, you know, like, so that's why we did the white background thing, but we added shit to it. So it's like, you can still do the white background, do more than just one little thing, you know, like make it a story.
Yeah.
And fucking, man, but it's also not just about necessarily the pollution of the metal scene, but the pollution of the world, apart from like literal pollution, like, you know, fucking garbage and fumes and all that shit. It's pollution as in people, you know, because people can blame pollution, like actual pollution, for the environmental problems, but at the end of the day, people, with no people, there is no pollution.
Yeah.
And so to an extent, people are the pollution. And now, that's not to say every human being is a danger to this earth and unbeneficial to society, but there's a lot of them that are. And, you know, like, you could tell from the name of our band, we're not very fond of like the government. Yeah. And so they in our heads, they are pollution. The government, the American government, the Mexican government, the Canadian government, every government, all these
power hungry rich billionaires are pollution to our society, and they are slowly decaying the world that we stand on, and
Right.
both literally and figuratively. And it's saying there's all this pollution in the metal scene, in our day-to-day lives, in humanity, in an actual pollution. There's all these different people and things polluting our lives. Victims of the system is the resurrection of realness and creativity and rawness, and we say what we want, and we don't fucking care who has an issue with what we're saying. We are the resurrection of metal. Not, there's still plenty of good metal. We're not the, what I'm saying, but we're fucking doing it whether you like it or not. We're the resurrection of that.
Right.
And that's what the sample is. That's the meaning behind the sample.
Right.
And that's also the meaning behind the white background idea, and a lot of the shots have a lot more meaning. Like there's shots that are only there for a second that have like 10 minutes worth of explanation and meaning,
Right.
And it's a lot of thought went into this music video. We've been talking about this music video for like almost a year, like we've been ready to do this for a long time, and it's here.
And that's why, amongst other things, I think Victims of the System is going to be one of the most important bands that we end up interviewing this year, because that level of substance, that level of context and investment into creative thought is the reason I continue to network. And I will admit, after all this time, it's been really disappointing to run into and host, like, not throwing a bunch of shade at any specific band, because these days it's easier, it's less complicated, and there's less burnout ratio, like less of a chance of burnout if you keep even the heaviest and most occultic or controversial subgenres of music. There is a level of simplicity that you have to sometimes water everything down to and dumb everything down to, especially if you're a brand new band. Like, you can be heavy as shit. You could scream bloody murder, such as like bands such as Strangled, that then became Orphan, and have it depicted in the music video that because of a real life friend that committed suicide, like the real life, the singer, in the music video, he ends up putting a gun to his head and he's like, "I miss you." And then the song starts with the firing of a round, and then him in the music video at least dropping to the ground, and you don't see his face because that's supposed to make the fictional suicide more real. There are plenty of bands that can do stuff like that, but there are also plenty of bands, I believe, that are feeding into the wrong incarnation of counterculture. And that's why I'm really trying to build this show on the identity of true counterculture. There are a great amount of definitions to this as well as time continues. One definition for me is getting away from the bigotry, because that's the definition of the word, truly, but not the way you think, not in this context. I want to distance me and my co-host, everyone that I ever host on this show, from the bigotry that is no one who is right-leaning with their political beliefs could ever be alt, like literally invalidating the existence of some of those people. I used to be one of those people. I am more right-leaning, all things considered, because right now, to be more right-leaning in American politics means that, yeah, sure, you voted a party in last fall, but that doesn't mean that you're complacent with the people that are currently in office. And not only that, but you are against the government, but on a grander scale, because instead of being against the American government, you're like, well, like you said, it's not just the American government. It's the governments of all of the superpower countries around the world who are then enabling and feeding into fascism. They're feeding into manipulation of history books that we are then introduced to, and certain pages of certain books are controversial, and we're told to skip over those and like skip through those pages when we were in high school. I personally go far beyond that of the American government being the issue. And I'm like, well, who is encouraging war? Who is like bombing all of their neighbors right now? And as per the title of a session we did earlier this year, Jax gets whacked by the what is it, the Moss advertisement, right? Well, it's supposed to be a play on words, if you guys didn't realize that, because I'm just noticing a lot more that it seems that Israel is at the root of all evil in the world today. And therefore, that's where I'm understanding that parties like neo-Nazis and all that shit existed. However, they were still incorrect because they were just generalizing it to a race, right? That happens to be associated with that country. The reality of it is you got the Freemasons, you got the Rothschilds, you got a whole bunch of rich families that have been running everything. Some last names are also Epstein and Maxwell, right? But the thing is, there is a higher tier above all of that, and it is a cult of radical Jewish folk, and they're called the Jesuits. And I'm now learning over time, as my own personal Instagram is getting more restricted, more watered down. I'm not able to post nearly as often as I used to because I have an IG with it says IG and there's like a cross in between it, like canceling it, right? Because I know that otherwise, if I don't put it as a story highlight, Instagram as a platform will just take it down. That's how meta platforms work. The real enemy people is the Jesuits, and they have been instructing the Freemasons that instruct Hollywood, that then instruct all the celebrities, and it trickles down into this fucked up conglomerate of people that at the end of the day have us all beneath their feet. And that's what true counterculture is meant to be, is the people versus the Jesuits and this cult who actually runs the entire world. But unfortunately, right now, there are so many bands who are wasting their time, I think, focusing on more surface level things that happen to do with the American government, that they are doing exactly what the Jesuits want them to do, and then causing more division, causing more of this. If you're Republican or conservative in the eyes of American politics, you can't be alt. Your existence doesn't actually matter. Like, the only people who are actually counterculture are the people without boundaries and the people without rules for themselves, really, and they're open to absolutely everything. Now, yeah, I consider myself pretty open, but it's just, I guess over time, the line in the sand not existing at all has been strange. It's been intimidating, and I feel like it endangers a lot more people than it helps. So it's like, at a certain point, in my opinion, you got to be able to draw a boundary. And I'm not going to provide any specific context because I don't believe I'm phobic, really, of any subculture. But at the end of the day, I think it's important to be able to draw a line in the sand and like come back to reality a little bit. Counterculture should simply just be, in my opinion, against the grain of the world government, not attacking your fellow neighbor for difference of opinion and also trying to shut them down, assault them, try to get them canceled on social media, cheering on the assassination of people associated with certain political parties. I think that's where we lost the plot. That's hella where we lost the plot. And I'm here to speak and stand up against that in the name then of that label of true counterculture. So I try not to make this show about that all the time, but this is technically my show that I share with two different people, and for the most part we all agree on that. And that's all that matters to me, is that even if there are fine details in our philosophies that differentiate us, that's what I celebrate. That's the diversity that I celebrate. So I just wanted to state that for the record, and I'll probably be quoting something similar in a upcoming channel trailer. But your neighbor, your homie who happens to vote red is not your enemy. No, not really, because at least here in America, our votes don't really matter anyway. The enemy, the true enemy, is across the ocean, and they're laughing at you while you get so angry looking at a certain rage bait post online that you're willing to go after your friend or cut off your friend for a vote that they did last election season. That's what they want. Y'all need to stop cannibalizing. Like, we need to stop cannibalizing and eating our own tail as a society. And this is just for American society. It doesn't really seem like UK or Europe is getting the hint. So unfortunately, they might implode as societies, as nations, as countries. But I speak upon American society because I still happen to be here until I go over to Japan. So I'll go ahead and wrap up politically, I guess, on that note. But stop attacking your friends. Like, we need to work together and focus our attention on the true enemy. That's encouraging this type of music. Not that it's a bad thing at all, but no, it's not a bad thing at all. And I don't know, the more bands across the scene feel the need to make this type of music is the reason that the issue is still valid. I guess that might be a bigger point I'm trying to get to. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful that way, how certain tragedies and certain implosions and deteriorating foundations encourage this type of medium. So therefore, possibly, maybe, the embodiment of pain. More or less.
Yeah, dude. Man. Yeah, how I look at politics and shit, it's like if I hate everybody that disagrees with me politically, man, I'm not gonna have no friends because I have such like specific views on it that like I've never met anybody that agreed with. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, both sides of it are just as guilty of the cheering on of the assassination thing that you mentioned.
Yeah.
You know, because there's one really obvious recent one that happened, you know, and fucking Charlie Kirk getting shot. And how I feel about Charlie Kirk, you know, it doesn't matter in this context. It's just I didn't like watching him die, and if that makes me a bad person, you're confused on what a bad person is. I didn't enjoy watching a video of him dying. It was hard for me to watch, you know, if that's not metal of me or what, dude, I don't care. Like, I didn't like watching that. I've never liked gore shit. I didn't like seeing that. And then more recently, the lady that got shot by ICE in the face, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, I was thinking, okay, it's going to take ICE fucking hurting one white folk for all the Republicans to be like, yeah, fuck ICE, you know, for everybody to get on the same page finally, and it's gonna happen. And so I was like, all right. And then they killed her, and then like all the dumb Republicans that are uneducated on it, you know, all the uneducated people, they were like, well, she was a liberal, and it's like, yo, what the fuck are we doing? Like, what are we talking about, dude? It's like, man, and that's when I really realized it's like, yeah, man, nobody will ever get along. And it's like right before Charlie Kirk, I don't want to say too much and get fucking done like him, but fucking it's like right before him, dude, I felt like everybody was kind of getting along with the Israel thing. I feel like everybody was kind of being like, yeah, Israel kind of fucking sucks. And then all of a sudden Charlie Kirk gets shot, and they're like, well, fuck you for making that joke about him. And they're like, no, fuck you for liking him. And then it's like, dude, it all fell apart as soon as Charlie Kirk got shot. And it's like, you know, that's weird. But fucking, yeah, dude, it's nobody's ever going to get along, dude. Everybody just loves to hate. And it's always going to be like this. It's always going to be like this. If you can break out of it, man, you'll live a happier life. But if you're worried about other people changing, man, you're going to be worried forever. Nobody's ever going to come to their senses. Nobody's ever going to get over their own idiocracy. Everybody's always going to love to bash people that are different, you know? And it's like, nothing's ever going to change.
Well, honestly, after, like you said, just before Charlie Kirk got assassinated, which I really do think the Mossad and Israel and the Jesuits were behind it. There's no fucking mistake about it. Yeah. Israel was the first country to report on it. Like, not even American news and media reported on that shit. So we all know that they're behind it. And what's really interesting is, I don't know, maybe there's something interesting going on with my algorithm, but I'm noticing a lot more transparency and a lot more stuff alluding to manipulation of historical text in regards to the Holocaust and in regards to what happened back then. A lot more emphasis on, like, we talk about the Holocaust and the exaggerated number of casualties that happened during then. which no matter what, people, like a whole bunch of people of various ethnicities died around the world during that time. And that's the truth. That is the goddamn truth. And anyone who wants to debate with me on that, you are, I think, not a part of the problem, but you're still almost enchanted and hypnotized like they want you to be. And that's like the nicest way I can put it without being like, oh, you're a fucking, like you're retarded or something. Like, no, nothing like that. Because a lot of us, if not a lot of us, all of us, I think, were in that position for the longest time. But the thing is, when in high school, and this is what I was talking about earlier, when the Bolshevik Revolution was basically buried and marked as controversial for this reason or that reason, despite, I don't know, 60 million Christian Russians being killed in cruel ways over in Russia by a government who was mostly ran by Jesuits. I'm not using the other word because I'm trying to really glue the historical context to a cult. It's very similar to back in the day when the Taliban was like a big thing, but everybody wanted to generalize it to Muslims or Islam. I'm like, no. There's a reason they have a label. Like, don't get me wrong. The Talmud or whatever, one of their texts has a lot of fucking red flag shit in it. Don't get me wrong, but when you isolate it or attempt to isolate it to the people who are really causing the issue and potentially even want you to generalize your hate to an entire people of religious practice, that's also where you get lost in the plot, I think. So treading very carefully in what I'm saying right now, we were all in agreement that Israel was the enemy, and then Kirk got assassinated, and exactly what like they wanted, we all started turning on each other again. And a very similar thing happened right before the pandemic started, in reference to the world getting healthier, us lowering pollution. The moment that the pandemic was kickstarted, N95 masks were just everywhere. But what I can say is that there are a couple of examples of good people out there, or better people out there who have climbed the ranks and who have apparently fucking cleaned up the world a lot. Mr. Beast, basically, who I think is going to be the real life version of the President Snow from the Hunger Games, getting the Hunger Games themselves started, with his very, very strange shows and just like that big smile on his face. This dude is the reason that most of the trash in the oceans and the trash islands are now picked up. Like that's facts. That's shit that you can look up on any search engine now. And the money he invested into getting that done, or the money he invested into like feeding really hungry people over in third world countries, like he's actually doing some good. It's just, I know the side effect of all of that is people are going to start trusting him more. And then he's going to be the reason for the real life Hunger Games. He's going to establish a dystopia. And eventually people are going to be so desensitized to violence that they will be open to a battle royale, very similar to the Hunger Games. And that's the only bad part about that. But hey, the trash islands are getting picked up. So that's nice. Yeah. But yeah, it's nice that we're finally getting into a time, this is the point I was trying to get to. It is nice that we're finally getting into a time and era where we're starting to finally see who the real enemy of the world